Hello. Um, Welcome to my channel, Cyborg165. I haven't, excuse me, I haven't read The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life in like about 3, 4 months now, but it's been coming up a lot in a lot of different channels, and it's just like I need to finish this book, and I know I said I would finish it, and then by the second volume, and so I'm gonna just start finishing it, reading it again, trying to get into the rhythm of reading. I read a lot of different things, but sometimes I'm just not in the mood, and then I'm like, does it even matter? I mean, I want to like build this channel, but sometimes I think like, is it even worth it? But I think I should just keep reading, and I want to get other different books too, and I'm gonna make more time to make more videos of reading because I've been different locations, and I'm like, oh, I could read a book here. It'll be like nice. And that's what I'm gonna do today. And we left off a couple months ago, and we're gonna read three, the darker side of present and past. So, yeah, if you don't know about the secret of flower of the ancient secret of flower of life, this guy, Dranvalo Malchivadek, I always butcher it, but this guy, I guess he's like, well, he was really famous. A lot of people talk about this man and like all the stuff he found out, but these readings um, are very informative. If you guys can get a hold of this book, buy it online. Like that's where I bought it at, and I read this book 10 years ago, but I'm glad I read it because all this information, like the Anunnaki, like past life, reincarnation, like all these different things. This book talks about all this stuff, and it's all relevant to like what's going on in our reality. If you follow my channel, I'm pretty sure you're into the same stuff I'm into, and like know here and there about things. So just gonna smoke a little THC, but yeah. So it's very interesting, and a lot of people go off this book and like all this information, and um, Melchizedek, it's like it was a priest like back in like 1,000 years ago, but I guess he like paid homage to like he's using his name, his last name or something. But it's very interesting. So we're gonna go into this, and thank you for tuning in. And I will post this up, and I'm gonna just try to knock this book out so I can get the volume 2, and then that deals with more meditation techniques, like a bunch of different things we can work on together. Or if you do have this book and meditate, let me know, what do you see, what do are your dreams, your journey through your dream world. So here we go, and I'm gonna try to read it better because this translation, sometimes I add words, and I noticed like the last video, one of the words I added, like I was like that word was not even on there, but I'm gonna try to read it very carefully. So, and I know people make channels of like just reading like straight, not messing up, but I think like reading like this is kind of good because then I have thoughts and ideas, and then I can discuss them out loud or hear it by myself, or you guys out there too can maybe will be like, oh, I was thinking the same thing or something similar. Who knows. But here we go. We're about to enter negative subjects for a bit. He could say, there he goes getting into the fear stuff just after he said not to get into fear. But I want us to observe all the facets, both positive and negative, of life on planet Earth. I don't want to look at only the positive ones. I want you to see the whole picture. And when you look at the whole picture, both the good and the bad, you'll see that the chaos is just part of the truth and part of the birth. A phenomenal change in human consciousness is occurring at this moment, though if you take any tiny segment of what's happening or look out in the world and see all the wars, famines, and human emotional garbage that's filling our newspapers, the future does not look good. But when you get the whole image of life, you'll see that beyond all the negatives, there's something much greater and vast and scared and holy occurring at this moment in history. It becomes clear life is whole, complete, and perfect now. Our endangered Earth. However, the most conservative scientists in the world that I can find don't give our planet more than 50 years. 50 years. The most conservative scientists on the planet say there will be no life or almost none on this planet within 50 years if we continue that way we're going. Many scientists give us only 3 or more years. Some of them give us 10. Most don't give us more than 15 years. It depends on who you read. Even if it were 100 or 1,000 years, would that be acceptable? You would not be hearing any of this information today if it were not for some changes in our government that have taken place in the last 8 years that have allowed this information to be presented. Although they're not allowing you to know anything, there has been a change in powers that be where they're beginning to cooperate with life. They simply can't. Okay, we're gonna pause there. We're gonna read the sidebar right here. Beautiful, beautiful pattern. In 1992, the world's nation met at an Earth summit in Rio de Janeiro to discuss Earth's environmental problems. The largest gathering of head of state in the history of the world was called because the danger of losing our planet. Most of the world came, but the United States, the largest polluter in the world, didn't even want to participate. It was obvious that the political administration felt that money, jobs, and economy were more important than whether the Earth survived. 5 months later, on November 18, 1992, a document titled "World Scientists Warning to Humanity" was released. More than 1,600 senior scientists from 71 countries. Okay, they simply can't. Okay, countries, including over half of all living Nobel Prize winners, signed this document. It was most alarming when the world has ever received from such a powerful body of researchers. You would think that this document would hold great credibility and that the world would carefully listen. It began. Human beings and the natural world are on a collision course. Human activities inflict harsh and often irreversible damage on the environment and on critical resources. If not checked, many of our current practices put a senior risk the future that we wish for human society and the planet and animal kingdom, and may so alter the living world that it will be unable to sustain life in the manner that we know. Planet of the Year, Time, Endangered Earth. There's just, and Time is like, that magazine, very like, I don't know, they're always like talking about the future and this and that, and then that one I read like 10 years ago about like cyborgs and humans and immortals, and it's like all somewhat true, but here we go, back to, they simply can't let you know the full extent of the situation because they believe that most of the world would just quit their jobs and say, the heck with everything, leading to complete chaos. Instead of quitting, Instead of quitting, is not this the time to focus? Human consciousness is powerful. we will know what we do. We are more than the ordinary world knows. Do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember? Remember your ancient past. Remember your ancient past. Remember your ancient past. Okay, now let's talk about the dark side. This is a January 2nd, 1989 issue of the Time magazine. In 1988, the secret government of the world decided to allow us to know some of what was going on around environmental problems. This was the first major publication on the subject in the mental problems. This was the first publication of the subject in the mental problems in the world. Excuse me. Time magazine declared the Earth to be the planet of the year. Instead of featuring a man or woman of the year, they broke away from their tradition. The entire magazine was devoted to our endangered Earth and its problems. If you were to read the problems as they were presented in 1989 and then read the problems as they're presented in articles today, you'll realize that what they gave us in 1989 was a ultra watered down version of the truth. It wasn't even close, but at least it was a beginning for our world to see the truth about what we have done to Mother Earth. I'm pausing a little bit so we can let the plane pass by, because I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm gonna get like some earbuds soon. I just been lagging. Okay, here we go. We're going to discuss only 4 or 5 different problems the Earth has, though there are multiple different scenarios going on. If any one of these scenarios were to break down, all life on the planet would eventually die. And at the moment, they are all about to break down. It's just a matter which one breaks down first, and whether one system goes, then all the rest of them will go eventually. And that's it. There won't be any more human life. It will be over with, and we'll end up just like Mars or the dinosaurs. A few years ago, around the turn of the century, there were 3 million species of life forms on Earth. 30 million different species of life. In 1993, there were about 15 million. It took billions of years to create these life forms, and less than a blink of an eye, a mere 100 years, half of the life on this dear Earth is dead. Around 30 species a minute are now becoming extinct somewhere. If you were to watch this planet from space, it would appear to be dying very, very rapidly. Yet we're going on as though nothing's happening and everything's great. Just pause real quick. It sounds like what's going on right now. And this book, every time I read it, it's like feels like it was just written yesterday. Like what's going on, it's like going on right now, and it's gonna keep going on. It's like deja vu. I call it galactic deja vu. We're sticking money in the bank and driving our cars and just wiggling right on. Yet, from an honest point of view, we have a real life and death problem going on here on Earth, and few people seem to be really serious about it. When they tried to get the entire world to come together in Rio de Janeiro, Rio in the early 90s to discuss the world's environmental problems, our president didn't even want to go. Why not? Because the problems are so serious that if we were to fix them, another problem would happen that would be an even more serious problem. From the president's point of view, we would be plunged into a worldwide financial breakdown, after which a large portion of the Earth's population would die from starvation and other problems. In essence, we cannot afford to repair the environment. on the other side of the coin, can we afford not to? It's like anything's possible, right? And I'm destroying this book, and like it's like falling apart, and I feel so sad. I feel so sad. Look, I destroyed it. Don't be like me and put your books up. And I might order this book again just to get another copy, a prestige copy, and keep this one, and not open the other one or have it somewhere better saved. Because I want to get the second volume. There's actually a third volume. I never got to the third one, and I also want to read the Mahabharatas. Those are very interesting from the little I do here. I hear the audios, but I want to like have the book. So here we go. It was in the August 1st, 1988 issue that the magazine focused its attention on the ocean and what was happening there. Jacques Cousteau, sorry if I said that really wrong, butchered it, wrote a book about this around 1978. He was a very respected person, but when he wrote this book, he lost credibility in scientific circles because he made a statement that nobody could believe. He founded his statement on pure science, but people simply could not or would not accept the truth. Specifically, he said that the Mediterranean Sea would be a dead body of water by the end of 1990, and that the Atlantic Ocean would also be dead by the turn of the century. People thought this guy's nuts. It's never going to happen. Well, it's happening. The Mediterranean Sea is now somewhere around 90% dead. It's not 100%, so he was not exactly right. Nevertheless, it's still going to be a dead sea of people, dead to be a dead sea if people continue to live the way they do. And the Atlantic Ocean is rapidly doing the same. Maybe it would happen in the year 2000, but it will happen very soon after that. Unless something changes dramatically, it will die. No fish, no dolphins, no life in the Atlantic. We can't live without the ocean. The bottom of the food chain, the plankton, will be gone. And if they go, we go. When we don't take this seriously, it's like saying, well, I don't really need my heart. This is a major component in the ecosystem on Earth. And it's going fast. This is not debatable. This is scientific fact. The only part that is debatable is when it is really happening. Nobody believed it would happen because they just couldn't accept this truth. That's how it usually goes. You can't accept the truth. I can't accept this. What are you talking about? I don't accept your false statements. No. But no one really pays attention. And then I think like, oh, well, what could we do? What could we do? What could I really do? What could I do? Maybe pray about it, send some meditation, and that's what always helps. And they know that. And but most people don't even pray. You tell them how to start a prayer, they probably don't even know. And who knows? Do I even know how to pray the right way? I don't. Let's see. The New York City, for instance, has pipes that go 20 miles out and dump all their human feces in the ocean. They figured, well, the ocean will take care of it, but for the last 60 years or so, it's been building up into a huge mountain. Now there's a mountain range of shit out in the ocean that is moving towards New York City. It's now up against it's now up against and actually coming into the harbor, and they don't know what to do about it. It would take more money than New York has to fix it. This is the kind of foresight that that we as humans have demonstrated. Okay, I don't really remember reading this when I read it like 10 years ago, but that is interesting. That's so crazy. And if the ocean does like get all poopy, it's gonna be like a mountain of poop, and people are gonna be like, "What the heck is this?" And there's gonna be all kinds of shit in there because people flush all their stuff down the drains, and that's so crazy to think about it. And we're like in the future right here, and I'm sure in like 100 years from now, 300, 1,000, all the houses are gonna like recycle their poop. Like it won't even go in the ocean. They'll just like poop vaporize or use for like fertilizers at your house or like some kind of like facility where all the poop goes to the facility and then it converts it into energy. Poop energy. That would be the best bet. Hook up like facilities, direct all the poop to like districts, make methane gas, right? Instead of going way to the dumps, like you start micro pooping facilities to create methane gas and uh, for like the city, the more you poop, the more methane gas you guys make in the future. Energy. It's just an idea for the future. The human manure. See, my reading is bad, but it's good that I'm reading because gotta wake up the mind again. The human manure approaching New York. Oh, manure. manure. I'm so okay. Approaching New York is an Atlantic Ocean problem. However, the problem is not limited to the Atlantic or the Mediterranean. The Pacific Ocean is Earth's largest body of water, and it will probably take longer, but it is also having tremendous problems, especially in certain areas. The red tide, the red tide, the red tide, the red tide is the first deadly sign of the pollution. It is it's an algae that destroys everything that lives underneath it. It kills everything. And this red tides are beginning to swell up, swell, beginning to sweep all over. Sorry, especially around Japan, where there's so much pollution. We've made lots of mistakes all over the earth because we don't have the consciousness to know how to live in harmony with our own body, Mother Earth. This is like a symptom of cancer or some other dreaded disease. Yeah, this Earth is like, especially everything going down. And if they do the nukes, they blow them up, then more pollution for some time. But I also thought like if they can make stuff like that, they can also make like I know they have artificial trees, synthetic trees somewhere in the East Coast in some library. It's like a futuristic library, and like why do you make every library like that? Why? But I think it's like more like it's like one of the Illuminati libraries, like somewhere. I think I don't know where it's at, but I know it's in the East Coast, and I was just like tripping out. They had like artificial trees, like clearing the oxygen, and they had tiles that were like solar, but it was just like it wasn't like solar panels. It was just like energy tiles, and it also reminds me. No, I think about it, I didn't. Stanford is working on California is working on material like say like these letters, the graphs, and then like it's like a black it's like rubber or something, but basically your body heat produces energy, kind of like the panther suit and the kinetic energy. So your energy creates a thermal energy, and it heats up like whatever. We had a device like he was like an MP3 or something at that time, and he was like, or hearing his music, but it was charging it like it was like hooked up, and the graphs were like solar, some kind of like solar thermal energy. So there you go. They have like all these kind of things, you know. And I think in the future, everyone's gonna be wearing like thermal suits, like bodysuits. Um, and I think that's what like the alien kind of suits are, like bodysuits, like kind of like that movie with Will Smith, like where he's on that planet, and it makes sense. And like to have like suits through the day where like you're protected from everything, and they're like nano suits, you know. But I also think like that would lead to like the Venom suits of symbiote, like the nanotech getting like its own artificial intelligence. So link up with your mind, like your skin and like your movement, and it'll be like your other exoskeleton, I think. And so it's like the symbiote technology, um, that Venom stuff. So I think all that stuff is real. Like they know what's going on, and that's what like kind of like the skinwalkers are, kind of like that. But here we go. Fundamental changes are urgent if we are to avoid the conclusion our present course will bring out. The warning document then begins to list the cries: polluted water, ocean, soil, atmosphere, diminishing plant and animal species, and human overpopulation. More than half of life on this planet is now extinct and continue to die. The world is becoming stern. No more than one or a few decades remain before the chance to avert the threats we now confront will be lost, and the prospect for humanity immersively diminish. We, the undersigned senior members of the world scientific community, hereby warn all humanity of what lies ahead. A great change in our stewardship of the earth and life on it is required if vast human misery is to be avoided. Our global home on this planet is not to be irreversibly mutilated. Yet most of the world's rejected this statement, even though it was created by one of the most respected scientific bodies ever assembled on Earth. You would think we would pause and say, if this is true, what can we do? Let's drop everything and do whatever if necessary. But the governments. Okay, these are the sidebars, but should I go or how? Okay, governments know that we are to avert this crisis, we must change the way we live, and that would not be politically comfortable. No politician wants to be the one to introduce this unpopular change to the government. The economy would suffer and perhaps even collapse if we were to stop polluting. So it has become a war of money against life. Terrible but true. The New York Times and the Washington Post, two of our most respected leaders in reporting the news, rejected this document as not newsworthy. This gives you a good idea of the importance we place the planet it is. The place on this planet it is. You can read about all this and much more in The Scared Balance: Rediscovery Our Planet in Nature by David Suzuki. Think for a moment. This warning documents gives us one or a few more decades to avert this crisis. It was written 7 years ago. This earth is billions of years old and has taken millions of years for mankind to reach this level of awareness, yet in a mere 10 to 30 years, a geological blink of an eye, if we do not act in a positive manner, we may become irreversible, irre, irrever, irrever, irreversibly, verbally mutilated. Irreversibly mutilated. You know, the word extinct was avoided, but we all know it is possible. Irreversibly. Irreversibly. Okay, I'm having a tongue twister with that one. It's kind of got dark, huh? But that's what's going on. It's a dark world we're living in, and yeah, this book is like ringing like everything was going on is going on right now. It's gonna keep on going on because it's just a cycle and it repeats itself, and it's like galactic deja vu. And I'm sure people that are in tune with like their self and nature are, you know, have dreams about this since they're probably born and have, you know, they're in tune with a lot of different things. And it's just so much thoughts and ideas. What are you guys thinking? My reading sucks, huh? For sure. I know you guys are thinking that. Here we go. Here's another problem. My reading shows the ozone hole above the South Pole. Ozone forms a tiny layer about 6 feet thick. It's a really thin, fragile layer, a living layer that's constantly being rebuilt. We know very little about it, though we know more than we would if it weren't for the UVC light, ultraviolet light band C, that's coming through the holes right now. When they begin to detect huge amounts of UVC, especially as shown here, coming into the South Pole, they shouldn't understand. They couldn't understand how there got to be so much because their computers didn't show it. When they found out that their software programming was set up in such a way as to override this sort of thing after they reprogrammed their software, they found out the hole was really there. This was some years ago. Yeah, speaking of the sun, I was watching the channel Mosan, Jaime Mosan, the Mexican news reporter, but he just showed on his channel that like some kind of asteroid or some object was flying right into the sun and like boom, just whacked it, and then an explosion happened, and Aurora Borealis was on Earth, like different parts of the Earth, like Mexico, and I think this was recent, and then he just shows a bunch of different videos of like, you know, I'm sure a lot of people have seen like that octopus kind of tentacle spaceship that goes to the sun and pulls out real quick and like takes like some plasma. So that was pretty interesting. He was just showing all these different things that's been going down with the sun. So that was pretty interesting. So here we go. What they actually were looking for was chlorine monoxide, the molecule shown in the far right of figure 3 to 5. They figured that the ozone hole is caused by various chemicals, one of which are CFCs. CFCs react with the ozone in such a way that when the chloride connects with the ozone molecule breaks apart, thus forming oxygen and chlorine monoxide. Scientists figured, given the speed they thought the CFCs were moving towards the ozone, that the chlorine monoxide up there would be about 30 times over normal, and they were very worried about it. So the world government tried to get the companies that were producing the CFC, Freon, and various other chemicals that cause this problem to stop producing those products and find other answers. In reply, the companies all said in unison, "We're not doing it. That's a natural phenomenon. We have nothing to do with it." So the world's government had to prove in court that the companies were at fault, which they did to get the proof they needed. For the first time in history of the earth, every single country on the planet cooperated in a single venture. This had never happened before. They flew high altitude planes over the South Pole for about 2 years collecting data, and they finally came up with something that really scared them. The destructive ingredient carbon monoxide wasn't 30 times over normal, it was 500 times over normal and moving much faster than they had believed. The article came out in 1992, I believe, 3 to 6. It first says that the EPA predicts 200,000 more skin cancer deaths from the ozone hole, but up in the right column, they have a tiny section reporting that the EPA says that the fatality estimates they had originally given were incorrect and are 21 times worse than they had estimated. 21 times now. That's a lot. It's not like saying, well, that's a little bit more. Yeah, speaking of that, it reminds me of that, like Trash Planet, like in Marvel comic books, and then our story reminds me of that place that's actually a Trash Planet. I think it's in Iraq, or it looks like that movie, but this is place, and pretty sure it's Iraq, and they collect trash, and they have trash piled up. Like there's no like laws about like the emissions of the carbon and all that stuff, and the men there like die by 40 to get all kinds of like cancers. Like there's like so much like you know carbon in the air, like they have it in their skin, like it's it's like kicked on like dust. And some guy went there, and YouTube guy, and he was just like, dang, it's crazy. But yeah, it just shows you this world is trash planet. It's a dumping ground for everybody. And if I show you all this trash around here too, you'd be like, dang, it really is. This is what the government has been doing. They give out little bits of information in little articles that don't tell us much. That's them. They don't make it a big deal, a law. They have to announce it. So they announce it in a little article and then let it go. Then they up the ante in another insignificant article, as in this article here, for example, where they said the danger was 21 times higher than the first estimate. Then 2 weeks later, the same paper comes back and says, oh, by the way, we were off 2 weeks ago. It's actually double that. Well, double doesn't sound like much, except that means it went from 21 times to 42 times worse than their first report, which is an incredible amount. If the truth had been told in the first place, it would have sounded terrible and created fear. Yeah, 21 times, 42 times, 200,000 more skin cancer deaths. Yeah, that's pretty much like bad, really bad. That's just like that's not even who else is around the world. But here we go. This is what's going on all over the world for a long time. The only way the world government know how to deal with the situation is by letting it out little by little, admitting to more and more and more they know. It should have happens like what's going on with the aliens and all that stuff. Little, give you little here, give you a little there, and like you just gotta like put it together, you know? So that was that article. I'm not really gonna read it. Uh, that's what's going on. So here we go. They know they have to tell us the truth for reasons you'll learn later, but they're afraid to say we're in real trouble. They just say, well, it's not so bad, but it's getting worse. And statements like this. Well, not only is there an ozone hole at the South Pole, but there's one at the North Pole now. And the rest of the ozone is Swiss cheese. In 1991 or 1992, there was a major television production on the ozone hole. It brought together all the major people who were involved in the studying this, and they all discussed all the pros and cons. They interviewed a particular husband and wife team. I don't have their names, but they also wrote a book on this very subject several years ago, predicting that the ozone hole was going to happen before we even knew about it. They had studied it all according to this program, and the ozone is now undergoing changes exactly like they said it would, and at exactly the rate they predicted. And we know supposedly what's going on in this time, and because this book was written like 30 years ago or something. Um, so it could be natural, it could be HARP, it could be the volcanic, magnetic, solar, like the whole galactic universe, lining up for something else. It's a recycle of times, and maybe our time is about to get recycled. Recycled time.